So linker combines all these files, all these object codes into a single file, which are ready for execution now. This is our actual program for execution. And then the next component, loader, comes into picture, because we all know that the basic thing is, if you want to execute any application or any program or whatever it is, we all know that it should reside in computer's main memory, which means RAM. Therefore, if you want to execute your program, first it must be loaded properly into main memory. So the job of loader is bring that executable code into main memory and then start executing it. Okay, so this is about the language processing system. Once again, I'll just go through the components briefly, and I repeat all the roles performed by all these language processing system. The first component, preprocessor, takes the source program and performs two tasks. One is file inclusion, and then another task is macro expansion, and then produces a modified source program, which will be then given to compiler as input. So compiler takes this modified source program as input and translates this source program into target assembly program, assuming that there are no errors at all. If errors are there, compiler will generate all those error messages to the end user. And then the target assembly program generated by the compiler is given to assembler, which converts that target assembly program into relocatable machine code. I'm saying relocatable machine code. What does this relocatable means? Relocatable is actually your source program is available in a hard disk because it is saved into hard disk whenever you save. And for execution, it is brought into RAM. So when a file from hard disk is moved to RAM, their addresses will also change. So relocatable machine codes will be that only. The machine codes are relocatable, and then it will be given to linker for bringing all the file components required for execution together, and then loader comes into picture to bring that executable file into RAM, and finally it gets executed, right? So this is the introduction to language processing system and the components of the language processing system. This is our first session. I'll conclude this over here. I request all the students to go through the presentation again, because this is our first session. You need to understand the terminology properly, because compiler design is a new subject for you. Only when you understand the basic terminology of the subject, then you will understand the remaining things linked to this terminology throughout your remaining units. Therefore, it is required to go through the video again. You can listen any number of times. The video will be shared in YouTube channel. You can listen any number of times until you understand properly, and then uh, come back to the remaining sessions. And if you have any doubts, you can text me through this mail ID, snreddy.biram@gmail.com. You can reach me at this mail ID. And maybe in Google Classroom also, it is possible you can reach me by sending your queries. Okay, I'm available on Google Classroom throughout this session during your class. Okay, right. Thank you. See you again in our next session.